Hello, Techno. It's kind of big. I thought this would be a different color. Hello, Jan from Germany. Need another screw tray. Yeah, usually Mr. Sim... Ooh, it's still making noise? Testing. No, it's still doing. How is it making noise? I've muted. Testing. It's still making noise. That's funny. But why? There should be sound now. Is there sound now? Is there sound now? Testing. I really should restart the computer every now and then, but that requires some effort that I just don't have time for. As I was saying, like 5 times now, usually I'm explaining what I'm doing, but I'm just working today, and I figured might as well just stream it. I do have 2 systems here. One of them's my computer, and another one is a customer's computer. He sent it in. He wants to do some upgrades. I was like, well, I can use some of my components, and I can do a trade-in for you, so you can save money. The components that I use on a day-to-day basis are usually just stuff I have laying around or did a trade for or something like that. So that's kind of how this works. He's really lucky, though, because he's going with the Inno3D 2070, and that card is like $700 today in the United States, but he's getting it for $550, I believe is what the sheet said. Which is cool, because I got a really good deal on one. Yeah. Both of these were built by other people, though, so I am gonna undo them all and rebuild them myself. And one of the builds I'm doing, I'm going to sell. I'll probably put my secret shop when I'm done, and I'm going to sell it for no profit. It'll just be the cost of the parts, so no assembly fee or anything like that. If you guys are interested, because I have to do a special APU build after Computex to promote some new stuff I have. So I got to get some funds. Sit Kitty, if you want to just email me for something custom, just send me an email. And if you are interested in the build I'm putting up today, it's going to be in my secret shop, which is just in my shop right now. If you go, my main website, nfcsystems.com, and there's like a button that says secret shop, and I'll change the password to Secret May. And I'll put a link in the description. And I'll run that for a few days. But it will be for a bargain mini that ships immediately. And that's kind of nice. Hello from some more Germans, great. And somebody from Brazil, which is awesome. So, hello to you, my friends, from Biloxi, Mississippi. That fan got broken in shipping. Forgot that I had some more DDR4. Can maybe use that for the build I did last night. It's even white and black to match the case. Hello from Greece and the Netherlands. This is good stuff. Hopefully it will be compatible with this setup. Amateur mistake. Actually, the way I have the lighting set up, it casts a dramatic shadow over on my end, so it looks decent for you guys, but it's very hard for me to build with these lights. I kind of do need to set up another light source that comes from behind, but it will affect how it looks for you guys. This is just mood lighting, doesn't really help my situation any. Yeah, I can't see that socket at all. I have heard about Ryzen 3000. I've been really excited for it for quite some time. I haven't done a great job keeping it for Computex. I've been working, but what I'm hoping is that we'll get a release date for desktop APUs. That's my concern because we knew a little bit about Ryzen 3000 as far as APUs were concerned, but it looked like they were going to be all for like laptops, that kind of thing, in a not LGA format. So I'm hoping that there'll be a release date for socketed APUs, and there probably is, and if there is, you can let me know in the chat. But I'm also hoping for the rumored 3600 Ryzen chip, which would be a faster CPU coupled with their Vega graphics. Hey, Zachariah? It's hard for me to see from here. This is the NFC Systems S4 Mini. The Skyreach 4 Mini. Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't think that the desktop APUs are going to come out yet. But maybe at the end, AMD will be like, just kidding, one more thing. But I doubt it. I don't know what this guy did over here. Basically, very basically what I'm doing right now is I'm repairing these two systems, restoring them, making them like new, swapping some parts around I have to fulfill a customer's order. He's getting a pretty sweet deal. I'm a little bit behind. I am pretty far behind actually on projects. I had some really heavy in real life stuff hit me all at once in my family, so I kind of had to take almost 2 weeks off of serious work. And then, of course, the launch of the minis is busy and frantic and everything, so I'm behind, and I'm really sorry that my customers have had to suffer because of it, but just nothing I can do except get back and work harder. And I could just kind of leave stuff as it is, but I don't like to do that. I want to fully kind of restore and make it just like it was brand new, even though the particular situation here doesn't call for it. But if you're going to do something, you might as well do it perfect, or as perfect as you can. And I have literally the most amazing customers in the world who have been really supportive and really kind to me and understanding for how long things are taking. One customer, he doesn't know it yet, but he's doing one of my art mods. And what I mean by art mods, if you go to the front page of my website, nfc-systems.com, you'll see some really crazy looking builds. These take months to do and have thousands of dollars of just like things like screw materials. And I'm actually not going to be charging him any labor for it, even though I have hundreds of hours in it because it's just been so very, very, very long. But I'm appreciative of him supporting me by commissioning those builds, and I feel bad that it took me so long. So it's a surprise. I don't think he watches these, so it'll be fun to send him the invoice, and it will be far less than he was expecting. Okay, Buis says, "Do I have any tips for getting to laser cutting?" Why don't you send me an email or with specific questions? I might be able to help you out. I've been doing laser cutting for like 14 years, using other people's machines or hiring somebody to do it. But I actually have hands-on experience with soup to nuts process, and I actually had been saving with all the money that I've made from NFC Systems, and I spent all of it this year on inventory and also an industrial laser cutter. So I'm going to be trying to make my money back this year with it, and we can learn together. One tip I will give you, though, is that you can't just price out the machine. Don't be like, oh, I have just enough money to buy the machine and the software, because you have to have a spare tube on hand. Nobody really warranties a tube very well, and you want to be able to switch that out. If you're making money off of it, you'll lose a lot of money waiting for a new tube, and you'll need to have new mirrors and stuff, and make sure you spend a long time learning the ins and outs of your laser, soup to nuts, before you try to start actually cutting and ruining material. I don't know what your budget is either, but Reki makes good tubes. You guys are talking about Iris Pro. I see someone talking about the 5775C, which was probably my favorite CPU of all time. Amazing, amazing processor. Extremely hard to get a hold of. But it kicks so much butt. Someone asks if a card with those dimensions will fit. Any card that is under 215 millimeters in total length will fit in the Mini. Now, brickless, that's a whole nother story, and I can't answer that question now. There's dozens of videos on it, not dozens. There's about a dozen videos of this on my channel about it, and it's pretty complicated. But if you plan on using the power supply outside, any card up to 250 millimeters in length. Oh boy, isn't that a real man's hairdryer? That would cause serious damage. Oh, I gotta repair these ends too. Hey, Tyler. Don't feel any rush to get back to any of my emails. I am very busy, so take your time. I'm kind of shouting now. Actually, if I talk at a normal volume, does it sound okay? I know I have my hat and the mic's like right above it. That's what I was asking. I bought a 1650 to test out. I'm actually pretty excited about giving it a go. I know that, or I hear that it gets bad reviews, but I think it gets bad reviews because people don't understand why you would buy a graphics card without a power connector. But the kinds of builds I do, I want cards that don't have a power connector. So I'm interested to see if it's a solid performer above the 1050 Ti. And if so, then fantastic. If I don't get to your questions, guys, I'm sorry. I'm working on stuff. Always feel free to send me an email, and I'm happy to answer you. And I also go through and I read the chat. So if I don't see it now, I'll see it later, and I appreciate you engaging with me. I do my best. I don't have great eyesight, and the monitor's like far back there, so it's kind of hard for me to see it and go. Eventually, I am gonna build a streaming box, and then I'll be able to put the chat up here, and I'll be able to see a lot better. I have the parts. I just need to do it, you know. So anyway, but the people that said thank you for making the mini, no, thank you for supporting the mini and buying it, because otherwise, we wouldn't have the mini. It wouldn't be going for this long. So I'm gonna do it as long as it makes sense, and you guys have made sense, and it's been awesome. So thank you very, very much. I am gonna make it a little bit bigger so I can barely see. There. One mini front with the NFC on and off switch. The background print I'll show you a little bit later. It's a topical map for blind people for the VA campus here. My wife helps blind veterans learn to get around, so I'm printing her off something for her to use. Not computer related. That's interesting. The person that I bought this Enodo 3D from was using the ultra low profile cable method, which is fine. It works great, but he was doing the Enodo 3D, so he went through a lot of extra work, which makes me happy because I actually want to try. Well, I don't know if that's gonna work. This is a 1080. The 1080 is just not gonna fit. But somebody, wait, no, it might. I'm gonna try that with the 1080, the Zotac 1080. Someone said if you remove the shroud on some of the Zotac mini cards, you can actually do a brickless build with it. So it might be a particular Zotac card. I don't know yet. But I just want to take a look and see. I would be very happy. MXM GPUs are something I really wish that became more available and at better price. My new chassis that I want to show you guys soon supports the ASRock Desk Mini GTX boards and their MXM GPUs. So I do really wish that they would become have better availability. But to give you, they don't like me sharing the cost of the cards, but a 1080 for a company that wants to buy a couple of them costs $1,000, a 1080, and the 1070 is something like $700. The 1060 is more affordable at, I think it's like $450. And the 580 is actually the cheapest. I don't remember what the number was off the top of my head, but it wasn't much less than the 1060. So very, very expensive. I was hoping that they would drop in price too, because Alienware has their hands on the new MXM cards, like the 2070 and stuff. So I was hoping that they would drop, but that's just not how it works. They just don't make enough of them to be able to discount via quantity. So kind of off-topic question. Are there any mechanics here? I'm actually looking at or thinking about buying an electric socket wrench. I really can't decide yet, because I could buy, you know, I have air compressor air, so I could just use that. But the idea of being able to take it to like the garage instead of my shop sounds kind of useful. And, you know, I don't want to buy a cheap one. I've learned my lesson buying those kinds of things cheap. So I don't know, do you actually use your electric socket wrenches at all? Also, do they make like mini impact wrenches? I know I've seen like 1/4 inch ones, but like do they make like a 3/8 inch drive? Or they just have 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch ones? Because that would be kind of handy. A pneumatic, like air tool, air. Because I have an air one and it's okay, but I'm just wondering if I would use the electric one more. So I have to like drag the hose out, you know? That's what I'm thinking, Peter, but just... I appreciate the feedback. I do have an electric impact. I have a DeWalt 1/2 inch electric impact, and it is incredible. I actually ended up using that more than my my air impact, and I took apart my entire Jeep with that electric impact. There wasn't anything on there; it couldn't bust loose. So that was a really cool tool to have. But it's really big, so you have to kind of use it in the right locations. I'm just trying to think of something that's really convenient for getting bolts off, you know, real fast. I don't really need a lot of torque for my application because I'm kind of actually wanting to do it more for my dirt bikes. But yeah. See ya, Pedro. Are you talking about these power supply cables? These are my Skywire cables. You can buy them right off my website, and they are already built to be the exact length that you need for the Mini and the HD Plex. So you can get them right off my website. Jared asks if I've ever built a PC with multiple Mini ITX motherboards. Yes, I have, Jared. I'm looking to make a multi-user LAN rig for my Rocket League team. Oh, that's cool. And thought it'd be a cool intro into case modding. Now, the max I've ever done was two systems in one box, and I did that for the Port of Tacoma in Washington State. I need to build a redundant video streaming box for them, so that's what I did. And there took a lot of modding to get to work right, but it was cool. Okay, Buis, if I said your name right, ask me what dirt bike. I have Suzuki right now and KTM, and I'm kind of looking at going to maybe some smaller bikes. I have a 780, 400. I'm looking at a 500. Raven asks a great question that's very relevant to the channel. What would be my go-to power brick manufacturer? The most powerful thing that you've seen is a 330 watt from Delta. Well, if you're talking about external power bricks, the 330 watt Dell brick that's made by Delta, Seasonic, and Lite-On is great. But my favorite brick now is the HDPlex 400, which can be used internally in some builds or externally, and it's half the size of the Dell. It is a 400 watt rated power supply. It caps at 450 watt. That's the peak that it allows, and it can run completely passively at 300 watts. It's cheaper than the official Dell one. This is what I would recommend. It's kind of ugly if you use it externally, but I mean, power bricks are ugly if you use them externally. They're ugly as they are. And, you know, if you wanted to clean these up and sleeve the cables, you totally could. So that's what I would recommend. And if you want a traditional power brick, the Dell one is probably the best one available. You have other options too, like the Eurocom 780, which is beastly, but has a lot of drawbacks. It's very, very expensive, extremely loud, and you're probably going to have to make a very complicated adapter to make it work with your rig. Yeah, so there's that. Well, I can say Christian, so thank you for giving me an out for saying your name. I don't like getting people's names wrong. And you make custom sticker sets? Oh, that's awesome. I actually want one for my DRZ. So you should send me an email and I can look in the stuff that you make. That'd be really cool. Alright, what was I doing? Got most of this done, actually. I need a new HD Plex. And this is a new one. And I want a new one of these. Well, it's not really fair to my fellow Americans because I have Slexdixia, so I can't actually read names very well, and I really have to be real close to the computer so I can process each individual letters. So it's not it's not easy for me, and my eyesight's getting worse and worse. I need a new prescription. But if I was going to try to pronounce your name, I would say Emiliano Rez Carletti. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Aaron. I really appreciate the super chat. I appreciate you. Oh, look at that. Back to back. Back to back super chat. Jared's asking what I would recommend for doing mining and stuff like that. Don't ask me. I'm not a computer expert. I know very little about computers. I know a lot about building these small form factor systems, but that's more like what parts are available and modding and that kind of thing. But as far as those kinds of things, you got to ask somebody who keeps up on it. But one answer I do have for you is that I wouldn't bother with a beefy cooler with the 2400G. I couldn't really get the thing to get hot, and the stock cooler it comes with actually is fine so long as you can fit it in your computer case. So I wouldn't buy a nice cooler for an APU-based system unless it was in a nice fancy computer case like I'm doing, because at that point you're just spending money anyway, so might as well go all out. Plus, these are really small, so you kind of need to buy a nice small one anyway. I almost nailed it. Like Lego Batman. First try. Well, it never hurts to ask, because I might have been through something before as far as computer stuff, but the only reason I know anything really is because of people like you guys. So I ask questions and then I learn in real time. So I greatly appreciate your help. The fan on the... For these kinds of setups, you always want the fan blowing in. These fans are not designed to pull, and you'll end up doing nothing whatsoever. You have to have fans for these kinds of setups pushing through. Same for like heat sinks. You can't really have a fan pull through a heatsink, or a radiator for that matter. The only exceptions would be if your heatsink is so low fin density that it doesn't... You're still going to get more performance pushing. There's no fans that I am aware of that are designed to pull air efficiently through high density cutouts or fins. Ooh, that's fancy. Better quality components all around. Much cleaner. Somebody said they like this thin silver cable. I asked Larry to make both sides black or both sides use the silver because I think it would look better. He didn't. He was open to it, but his engineer said no. The silver cable itself, I really hate. It's really, really stiff, and it the insulation cuts easy, which is kind of not what you want for a power supply. Thank you, Aaron, for the super chat. And it makes it easy for me to see because it makes the font bigger and against a bright background. So, oh, I gotta deliver a package and pick up a package. everybody still here? The foundation guys came by. So, I have had a crazy month, but it turns out the side of my house was cracked and needed foundation repair, which was, of course, going to be ridiculously expensive. And my house was so bad, they're like, you need to sell your house because we have to fix it because you got to disclose it when you sell it, but you're not going to make any money in your house when you're done. And it ended up being more than twice what the estimate was because the house was so bad. So, I mean, it was like watching a castle be sieged in the Middle Ages with all the sappers. I mean, the two sides of my house they had to dig underneath. So, anyway, they came for one of the last installments of the payment and checking out to see how things were going. But they've been here like a month working on the house, so very sorry about that. But I didn't know they were coming over, so. Anyway, I don't even know if you guys are still here or not, but yeah. I thought I was the mail lady. Anyway, where was I putting this together? Thank you, Christian. Appreciate you. You can fill in the form. You can email me at josh@nfc-systems.com. No, I'm not begging for money. I am incredibly blessed. The business works very well for me. So no, don't. I was truly trying not to guilt you. I'm just saying it's been a project for sure. So, and it will be a good story. For these, I'm debating because I think I can get a good connection here, but if you don't get a good connection, like if something gets loose, the connector could melt. Because this is a full build, I'll test it first. I guess I'll power it on first, test the system out. If the power supply works, then I'll crimp and cut. And that should be good. It's nfc-systems.com, but you can go to my website. I have it says contact us or contact me, and it will have my email there for anybody that's interested. Boom, headshots from Maine. I know one person in the small form factor community from Maine. And frankly, I'm surprised I know anybody from Maine. Can't remember what I was doing. Oh, this? Yep. I'll put the front in first. Mike asks, is there any benefit to swapping the HD Plex fans to a Noctua? You might be able to get one to fit, but it'd be really close. Certainly, you'd only want to do that with the aftermarket vented bezel that I sell, because otherwise it's going to be butting up right against the side panel. And I was surprised, at least the first gen fans from HD Plex, they did their job and they weren't really too loud. But yeah, absolutely. Noctua makes dead silent 40mm fans, so probably. And who knows how long these will last as well. Noctua fans last a long time, which is another reason they're so great. They are expensive, but I've never had to replace a Noctua fan, even for systems I've had forever. Well, I never have systems for forever, but some of my friends do, and I use Noctua coolers in them. Whereas there's other brands, and I don't want to bad talk other brands, so I won't name them, but there's other brands that make great fans, great silent fans, but I just don't have good luck with them lasting very long. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I remember that boom headshot. Yeah, Dirt Every Day is amazing. One of my favorite channels on the YouTubes, or used to be on the YouTubes. Is they still on the YouTubes? And also, Zach and Ari from Motorcycle Online, they had awesome, awesome videos, but they've also moved, sadly. Or MC Online? I don't remember. I'm not good at that kind of thing. Zet asks he wants to pre-order the Skyreach 4 Mini, but what's different to the original? This is my first Mini ITX build. It depends on kind of what answer you're looking for, I suppose. You don't really have the option of buying the original. You can really only buy the new one. There's a lot of differences. I do have a video on it. You might be able to find a link to it on my website, but if you go to my main channel and go to my videos, it's Skyreach 4 Mini pre-order, logistics, etc. Somebody probably can link it to you, but I go over every detail about all the changes and updates. It's a year old now, but it's still relevant because the new Mini just has very minor updates. The new Skyreach 4 Mini is the same as the old Skyreach 4 Mini with very minor updates. Motor Trend, yeah, that's right. I like having my zip tie heads all the same way. Alright, I can't use those. Does it have to be this way? No, I don't think so. Ankit asks if it's possible to have an inverted GPU in the S4 Mini. It's a topic that I have covered several times. I do have several videos about why it doesn't matter in the S4 Mini, even though it might seem like it does on paper. I have a case dedicated to it, the S3 Mini, which is my first production mini chassis. But the direct answer is yes, it is possible. And you would do that by making your own custom GPU backplate, which is something I plan to use by Laser 4. There's only one technical reason why you want to do it, and that's with a very particular graphics card in particular circumstances. Other than people want to do it because they want to do it, which is totally fine. I mean, it's your computer system, and you can mod however you want. However, the case that I am going to be showing you guys soon, as soon as I get the prototype, does allow for inverted graphics cards. It's an incredibly unique computer case, and I am really, really excited for it. It does not replace the Skyreach 4 Mini, so people that bought the Skyreach 4 Mini don't need to be panicking whether they should have held off or not. The Skyreach Mini is no compromise, literally, not even, in building this layout as perfect as it possibly can be. So, yeah, Boom Headshot, you have to remind me too, because I have so many emails and I've talked about kind of what you're talking about. I don't know, you just remind me, send me an email if you want an update. So, sorry I'm not trying to ignore you, I just can't think of what you're talking about right now. If you want to see what the S3 Mini looks like, ASDF4455 Games, go check out my website, nfc-systems.com, and you can go to Legacy Minis, and you can take a look and see what the S3 Mini looks like. Dallin. No, Jasper, it seems like it would, but it doesn't, which I thought it would. That's why I have the layout, and I have a little plaque that says I came up with the layout too, which doesn't mean anything other than the fact that I thought it was important. You know, I thought the layout was important, but it turns out it's not. Scientifically, it's not. So I thought I could mate this like this, but I'm gonna have to do it a different way. I'm seeing that now. How did I do this the first time? But Ankit, I like the pointy foots. But it's like a thing I don't like to argue about, though, because there's really no point in arguing about it. It's really easy to go test for yourselves if you want to find out. And if not, you can look at my results and see what you think. But the big thing, too, is to keep in mind that the Mini just runs way cooler regardless of whether you elevate it or not in the vertical position. So yeah, it's not possible for everybody. Some people want to use it as media center PCs or have it fit, and I totally understand that, and you can totally run it that way, but it's just way more efficient. So if you're trying to get maximum efficiency, it's still going to be cooler to raise it up because you can vent both sides a lot better than having it just lay flat and having the very hot backside of your graphics card or the very hot backside of your motherboard or a power supply sit against your desk and kind of keep and trap all that heat. So if that makes sense. But I do have, if you want to join my Discord, guys, there is a link in the modding section, I think it's pinned, about some of the reasons why having the GPU up is a negative thing, why I switched away from it. Because obviously, people want it. So if it was the best thing to do, or if it was just neutral, I would have kept it. But it's actually not the best way to do things. It increases the size of the case, it increases the cost and complexity of the cable, it blocks off sides of the graphics card where you could have better venting, it gets in the way of installation for things like your SSD mounts and stuff like that. If you put it underneath the motherboard, you can damage it very easily with the pins that you have on certain motherboards and for different coolers that have the sockets in the bottom, so it's not maximally compatible. You have the where you're going to put the output, the AC input, sorry, the AC inlet jack, because that sticks out a certain amount. And by flipping the graphics card around, you're going to be putting the tabs for the graphics card over that. So you have to move that over your motherboard, and that's in a good position because it's going to meet up with the I/O and it's going to flex a little bit right there. Additionally, if you have a capacitor or a cap for like sounder right there, it's going to make that motherboard incompatible with it. Then you have also the fact that if you have the graphics card like this, you can lay the key over the motherboard, so you're saving about 18 millimeters of space in one direction, which reduces the volume of the case very, very, very significantly. And finally, it's much cooler this way, again, if you're running into the vertical position, because you're having the graphics card be able to vent on most of the sides. So there was just a lot of, those aren't even all the reasons, but there's just a lot of reasons why it just wasn't optimal. And for the Mini, I was trying to build the most optimal case that had the absolute smallest footprint, the absolute best use of volume, the best compatibility with cards, motherboards, everything like that. It's not just a box. It's a box that had every single millimeter thought out over a course of almost 14 years at this point, with the second run included. Thousands of iterations of layouts and stuff. It was a big passion of mine, and I think a lot of it is obvious only because it's been done at this point, you know, and people can start by using my 3D models and kind of add on to that. But when I made this computer case and took it to shows and LAN events and showed other people and stuff like that, people thought it was a joke. You know, it was a small box. They didn't have powerful hardware, and they just didn't get it. But now it makes sense, and everything's kind of finally come together. But the reasons I chose the way I did were really well thought out, and it's not something that was just kind of hodgepodge thrown together. And I really always, of course, appreciate you guys' input, and certainly there are things I've added to the Mini over the years because of your input. And I'm trying to include a lot of those things that conflict with my ideas in other future products. That way, everybody can be happy and have the product they want. But for the Mini, unless I can be proven otherwise, I think this is the most efficient layout you possibly can have. If that's a challenge and you want to take me up on it, fantastic. But at least go over the design rules and check out the video I made on the subject. Hey Chad, good to see you, man. And yeah, don't let the house collapse on the minis. Ugh. Bingy22. What are you talking about, ETA? I just made some suspicious hand and face gestures. But to answer the question, yeah, because it's not a secret at this point, I am making an APU case. I'm really super happy with it. It's not something that I just kind of said, hey, I should make an APU case. It's something that I hated the idea of, but I had an idea and it came together, and I am so excited for it. It is truly unique. It's really not from concentrate, and I'm really excited to make it. And you know I am because the guy that helps me out with logistics and all that said this makes absolutely no financial sense, and you should not do this. But I was like, I don't care. I must make it. So I am making a really cool APU case, but it's unique. It has unique ideas and concepts in it, and I don't want to share what those are yet until I actually have the prototypes in hand with an ETA for manufacturing. So I can't share yet, but I am making one. All I can say, all that I want to say right now, guys, is I'm very happy with it. It is unique. It solves a lot of problems that are out there with APU cases. I'm very excited for it. I'm proud of it. But beyond that, I gotta wait because the problem that I face is I try to do everything at a really precise luxury level. That's kind of my niche, which means things go really slow, especially because I do small batches. And there's a lot of people that follow me, and I'll put an idea out, and then they'll go make that idea before I can even get prototypes, and they'll be selling it. And they won't sell a lot, but it's enough to make it very difficult for me to recoup the costs that I incurred to start with. So that's why I have to keep it close. I'm not against the people making a living making cases, and I think it's fantastic that people want to share ideas or can use up my ideas, but I need to be able to at least invest when I'm taking money out against things like my house in order to make these kinds of products, to be able to at least cover the run and pre-orders, that kind of thing. So I gotta wait until things have progressed further, if that makes sense. It sound a little bit selfish, but I kind of have to do it that way. So I don't know anybody using a 2600. I bought a 2700. This is a 2700X, I believe. I've used lots of 2700s, but not any 2600s. I could make you Atlanta, Georgia. I could make you the haiku. That was 2009. Wait, no, I don't know when I made that. 2009, I think. Yeah. So I've learned a lot since then, so I don't think that you want it exactly like that. Also, keep in mind too that I got that so small, even smaller than this mini, because everything, it was never designed to be opened up ever again. It was an actual mod. I built the case around the part, so I think a better option would probably be to use the new mini frame and then to make custom panels for the mini like that. And if that's something that you're interested in, just send me an email. But that's a lot of custom work, custom laser cutting, so just be aware that it's going to be kind of pricey. But I absolutely can and would love to do that for you. Jamie, you ask a good question, but it's actually kind of hard one to answer because modern CPUs, especially for this generation, and GPUs will control the voltages automatically depending on the temperature. So a better question is what kind of boost clocks can you maintain? And the answer is with the Mini, probably not a lot, although I can say that if you go look at some of the benchmarks and spreadsheets that I have and the reviews of other people that are good at doing benchmarks, the Mini performs far, far better than any other small form factor case anywhere near this size. And that's really because of, one, the layout, and two, the sky slots. These vents, this vent pattern, and the new one's actually improved over this, are extremely efficient. You have a ton of airflow. They're very solid because of how they're staggered in design. It's not a pattern that's very easy to kind of get right in here. That's a different story for a different day. But it's also very quiet because of how they're shaped. So all those things together allow you to get the most out of your computer case without the fans having to spin too hard. And it vents very well with natural convection. But I don't like to I don't talk about that usually because I don't want to sound like a bunch of marketing mumbo jumbo gumbo. I much prefer to under promise, over deliver, so it's better to go look at other people's reviews and see what they have to say. But it performs, this computer case performs extremely well in that department. Obviously, you know, a ATX case with a bunch of fans in it's going to perform much better, but for its class, Yeah, Chad, I agree. I do. I've been itching to do a real over-the-top build like that for some time, and I think I have a customer lined up for one who's down for it. This I'm leaving out again because I'm going to test it first, and if it's working, I'm actually going to cut these wires, and I'm going to probably solder them together. I might butt connector them together, and then I'll stick it back down in that. People ask me all the time, how do you mount the HDPlex 400 DC in the chassis? You install it installed. I don't use any kind of mounting tape or Velcro or anything like that. However, systems I'm shipping overseas, I do put a teeny tiny little bit of double-sided tape behind it. It's completely unnecessary if you're the end user, but it's incredible how much stuff shakes and vibrates during shipping. And so for international shipping, I do put a teeny tiny little bit out in there. That's really the only reason, to manage vibration. And it's actually going to be even looser the way I build it, because I do a lot of cable management, and also I'm using the Skywire cables, which cleans things up and makes it really easy to put the cables and get good results. If you're using the stock cables that come with the HDPlex, this power supply is not moving anywhere. I wouldn't need to use any tape because the cables would hold it in place. So just so you guys know. I really should add an overhead camera. I don't have a switcher though, a board switcher to do that. And back in the day, those were very expensive. I don't know if that's changed recently, but what I really want is YouTube to be able to ingest multiple streams, and you guys be able to choose which camera you want to look at. I think that would be really cool. This is one of my 2mm thick carbon fiber front bezels. I love the way carbon fiber sounds. It's like ceramic. Forgot, yeah, I am using. That will be fine there. Oh wait, no, I got one there. I could do a picture-in-picture. Right now I have a Magewell Quad SDI converter. It's one of their first ones that they made. I have to use like adapters and stuff. Kind of a pain in the butt. And I recently bought, when I started streaming again, the USB 4K, which works good, but then I have to buy another one if I was going to use the other camera. So I'll consider it. It's not a bad idea. Doesn't that sound awesome? Carbon fiber is just sick. But yes, I do make these carbon fiber bezels myself in my workshop, which is that way. And this is my office where I assemble things and design things. David asks if it would be possible to build a full carbon fiber S4 Mini. It's definitely possible. it would be absolutely, brutally, unbelievably expensive. Not just because carbon fiber is expensive. This bezel has like $35 of carbon fiber in it, just the carbon fiber. And I make 8 at a time. It takes several hours. I have to mill it underwater. But a mini would require to me to actually CNC mill out the shape of the mini for the panels that need to be bent. And I'd have to get like a pre-preg carbon fiber, and then I'd have to suck it down with a vacuum over those, and I have to bake it, and then I'd have to trim it all out by hand and finish it all. It would be unbelievably expensive and a huge amount of work. It would be $1,000 in carbon fiber. And the molds and the mold release agents and the ovens that you need to bake that stuff at, it would be just ridiculous. Of course, you could use thinner carbon fiber and get away with it, so I guess it wouldn't have to be $1,000 in carbon fiber, but it would still be thousands of dollars in labor. But the 2D bezels I use is 2mm plate. And it's not, it's actual, what's the term? Well, I put it on backwards. It's structural carbon fiber. It's not, it's a structural weave. Is it completely unnecessary? Yeah, it is. It's completely unnecessary and silly, but it's cool, so. But how the carbon fiber is laid and the weave and all that, that determines the strength and the rigidity. Is the stream cut out, or is we still going strong? I don't know when the black Noctua cooler is coming out. I like the color of the Noctua cooler, so I'm not too worried about it. That's nice looking. I just realized I didn't look at the riser, I didn't install it, so I wanted to make sure it was plugged in the right way. Now the tricky part. because there's no light. Let's take the RAM out. Shervin, you're going to be waiting a long time because they're not even finished making them yet. they're gonna ship in July sometime for sure, and the expected date I think is on the website. It's like July 14th or 19th is what they put down. It could be earlier than that, but I wouldn't count on it. And even if the minis did get manufactured by Li & Li yet, the Rises are still being manufactured for me. So those are at least 25 days out, and Larry makes amazing products, but we all know it can take a little bit of time, so... And he makes my custom riser for me. Yay! Other people can chime in what they think is the best GPU. I think that that's a loaded question because it depends on what you're trying to do, I suppose. There are GPUs that are really easy to put into the Mini. There are, with a brickless build, for example, there are GPUs that you have to work a little bit harder. There are GPUs that are really powerful. The most powerful GPU you can put in the Mini is the 1080 Ti. That's the most powerful. That's an easy one. But you probably will have to run an external brick for that. So what's the best? I think the best card is probably, right now, the Inno3D 2070. Because it's a mix between the most powerful and it's very, very easy to install. Doesn't require any mods. And you can have a brickless setup like this. A runner-up for me, I really like the 1050 Ti because there's no modding involved in that either. You just drop it right in and you can have a brickless build, and that works great for me. And I'm looking to see if the 1650 is going to replace the 1050 Ti for me. So that's what I'll probably do this weekend. The HDPlex 400 can absolutely 100% handle the 1080 Ti. If you go to my Discord channel or to my website, and I'll put a link in the description, I have a spreadsheet where I test coolers and also test power supplies and graphics cards, and you can see what the HDPlex can handle. I test up to the 2080 Ti. And there's some caveats with the 2080 Ti, but with the right settings, you can actually run it. So, but the 1080 Ti, absolutely. It's not nearly as power hungry as the 2080 Ti. But the 2080 Ti, conversely, for people that are interested, undervolts really, really well. For the people booing the 1050 Ti who says the case deserves better, well, I get what you're saying, and I appreciate the sentiment there. But again, I think that the case makes a lot of cards that would absolutely not be interesting, right? I think that's what's so cool about ultra small form factor, is that if I had an ATX desktop computer, 1050 Ti would be stupid. I mean, you'd have to be stupid to put a 1050 Ti in there, especially with, you know, the 1660 Ti out, you know. But with a case like this, you're trying to say, okay, what can I stick in this small box that's going to meet the needs, my needs, and go in easily and be nice and be quiet and all that. And that's where some cards become interesting again. The 1050 Ti, you can put in here again, super easy to do. Requires no modding. If you're a beginner builder and you don't need real graphics horsepower, 1050 Ti is a great option. So that's why I think it's interesting, if that makes sense. Or like if you were going to be using like Lone's computer case, this is an older Lone L4. He has a new one out now, but it's a mini ITX case. You can put low profile cards in there too, and 1050 Ti is one of the better low profile cards you can put in. So small form factor, the point is, can make uninteresting cards interesting, I think. Did I not do this correctly? I wonder if I have the new different panel on the wrong way, or if this was actually a custom bezel and I put it in the wrong place. I think that's what I did. I'll have to come back to that. That's okay, because I wanted to work on this one next. Okay, so I did make this for a custom build. I just put it in the wrong box. And for people that want to know about what graphics cards you can put brickless in the Mini, I do have another video on that. But most Mini ITX cards can. It's just a matter of how much modding do you want to do. And do you want to mod the card? Do you want to mod the case? Do you want to mod the power supply? You just have to kind of make those decisions for yourself and figure out what do you want to mod to fit everything in there. But so far, in my lab, I have put Gigabyte Mini ITX cards all the way up to the 2080. I mean the... I put the Gigabyte 1080, 2070, you could put the Galax 2070 in. I want to play around and see about the Zotac card and how that's going to be done. Oh, shoot, shoot, shoot! This is the wrong bezel. I made this for a different type of build. And I accidentally mixed it up in the wrong box. So. Out it must come. Atlanta, I thought I answered your question about Haiku, dude, but send me an email, and I can help you out. And it would be so totally different if you wanted to stick a giant power supply like that inside. Haiku is smaller than these minis. It's broken down. This was a wedding present to my wife. And the day that I made it for her, she had headphones plugged in, and she stood up, and it came with her headphones. But I still keep the wreckage of it. But as you can see, it's super tiny compared to the Mini, so you're not fitting in your components. But you can send me an email and we can talk. 3D printers accept STLs, so you can use export STL from just about anything, Sean. You can export STL from SketchUp. I think the best tip for designing your own case is right when you think that you're done, you're not even beginning yet. So try not to jump the gun on any big purchases for prototyping or manufacturing until you've tried to really prove it first in 3D, and then making it like cardboard mock-ups and stuff like that. Because it's really exciting making your first case, and then you get obsessed with it, and you finish the 3D, especially if you're learning Saw for the first time. What's the best way to put it? Think of anything in your life where you learned a new skill, and you just became proficient enough in that skill to where you kind of impressed yourself, and you thought that you were really good at that point. And then you go and you share it with somebody else, and, you know, you're not good. And then years later, you look back on where you were then, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was, you know, sharing with that person and saying I was so good. The thing with cases is you're going to punish yourself, because it's not about other people thinking you're not good. You're going to spend a lot of money and then find out, oh man, this doesn't work like I thought it was going to in the 3D. So you want to make sure that you really have nailed it solid. And I'm only speaking from experience. I'm not speaking from a high horse. I've made so many mistakes along the way. It's unbelievable. So anyway, that's... Yeah, Sean says, go read the STX 160 post. I have another video where I dissect that build, and I link to that post. But James's thread is amazing. I wish I had that thread when I started a long time ago. Oh my gosh, it's like a university course. It's incredible. So definitely check that out. On my channel, it's called like the STX 160. Smallest case or largest power supply, I don't remember. Or if you want to search small form factor forum for it. But that's another great resource. But photographers. Have you ever like gotten to photography and the first couple pictures you take, you're like, oh my gosh, these are so good, and then you want to show people and put them up on your Flickr, like 40 different angles of the same photo, and then years later you look at that and you're like, oh. Again, that's kind of how making your first several cases are. And I've made a lot of very expensive mistakes making computer cases. Another big thing, a piece of advice I haven't seen anywhere, but especially with small form factor, when you're putting everything together and you learn how to use the 3D tools and everything, you tend to overestimate how much room you have, because 3 to 5 millimeters looks like a ton of room in the 3D modeling program when you're zoomed in on it, but it's not. So you have to think about how do things fit together, and cables, how do they fit together? So that's something to really think about. I really recommend just making block cables out. Make them 4 millimeter in diameter if you have to, but making sure that you can fit everything with the cables in is super, super important. And then finally, I think a great example about how you're not done until you know you're done. A friend of mine, Kevin, he runs Laser 3D. Thank you, Warren. Phil, that's awesome. I really do appreciate your generosity and your super chat and your love. I really do. So hugs back to you. What I was saying with Kevin, he runs Laser 3D, and he has a talent for design that I don't have. He is really, really good designer and a great guy, soft-spoken guy. Check out his products. You might find them interesting, and you might want to buy from him, and I would recommend it if you do. But he was wanting to build a Laser Mini, Laser S4 Mini, and we were going to kind of collaborate, and he would sell it through his shop and all that. And hopefully that will still happen at some point. He got real busy, and I got real busy. But when we were designing the Mini, he would come back with his proposal for how it would fit together and maybe some layout changes and stuff like that. And they would totally make sense from his perspective. Like you'd say, okay, I did this, I changed that, I moved this around because this fits so much better right here. Again, he's a better designer than I am. But I have way more experience working with the Mini. And I'd be able to go, that won't work because of this particular motherboard or this card or the power supply if somebody wanted to use it like this way, or you can't adjust something or change this bracket out if you do it that way. There's a lot of experience that comes with doing this that you have to learn over a long period of time. And I'm not saying you shouldn't go make your own case, because that would be the greatest thing in the world if I could inspire people to go do it, because it's a lot of fun. But again, I would jump the gun in prototyping. So I would get my computer case all laid out in 3D, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is it. I'm so excited. And then I would, call up manufacturers and stuff, and then they need a minimum order or a very expensive prototype, and I'd order it and everything. And I realized that, oh wait, if I changed out this motherboard, it wrecks the design. So it's one of those things that try to study motherboards, try to study graphics cards. Keep in mind that everything looks way bigger in 3D than it actually is in real life. How do you assemble the thing? How do you route the wires? Actually install the wires. Installation is a big one, because that's one that people mess up on professionally. You go buy a computer case, right, from Thermaltake or another big brand like that pumps out new cases every year, just says, here's 10 new cases. And they might be well designed from an engineering perspective, but like you go to building it and you're like, these guys never built the computer case. They never built in this. It worked in the 3D model. They worked for manufacturing, but they never built in it because you can tell that it was too difficult to actually assemble in it. So that's my recommendations for you. Before you spend a lot of money, really do your research, really practice a lot, and make cardboard mock-ups and stuff like that. So that was a really long rant, but that would be my advice. I don't even remember what I was doing. Oh. I'd finished putting that bezel on. No, I didn't finish putting the bezel on. Yeah, Sean, crossing my fingers for you. I'm hoping it's going to work out great. And I think that it will, especially because of the references that you've used. A lot of those mistakes have already been made for you. So yeah, Jessica, I think that's a great idea. In fact, a kind of a fun game is PC Building Simulator. You can check it out. It's not really something you'd buy to learn. Well, I take that back. I think if you're brand new to building computers, definitely check it out. It's kind of a fun game. Basically, the idea is you start your own PC mod shop like this, and you get orders in from customers to fix viruses, to build computer systems, and you go and it's very VR. It's a VR type of game. I don't know if it's not in VR yet, but it's the kind of game that would work really well for VR. You stick computer and components inside in there. I contacted the guy that made it. I was like, hey, I will provide to you 3D for the Mini and the power supplies and everything, so you'd have all this kind of stuff, and then people could know what goes and how it fits together. And he thought that was a really cool idea, but again, it's just time. Everything takes too much time. But it's PC Building Simulator, I believe, is what it's called. $500 in it. Well, see, there you go. It's fun. It was made for VR first. Okay, that's cool. That makes sense because it's a very VR-y type of feel to it. I didn't know it was for VR. It's much better now too. It's been more fleshed out. It's been turned into a real game rather than when it first launched. So if you played it when it first came out, I recommend taking another look at it. There we go. Yeah, and Weirdfeld, contact the devs and request it some more because they're open to it. They would like to do it. It's just a matter of prioritizing. So if they get a good feel for how many people actually want to see mini ITX stuff, it'll move quicker, no doubt. Cable management. My wife teaches the blind, Sean Craze, and she's requested some 3D tactile maps, so she could show them the maps for the VA campus, so she could help them get around, navigate it. Or maybe it's just like for her desk. I don't know. It's fixing to be done though. Looks like. I'll show you in a minute. Gotta change batteries. Hello, Amjad. Thank you for dropping in and saying hello. Alright, there's nothing else to do except boot it. I don't have the cable for it right now. But for people who are just coming in, I'm actually going to solder these together, trim and cut them and solder them, but I want to test it first. So that's why this is hanging out, but it'll be down in there. It'll be nice. But this is an Inno3D 2070 bill with a 2700X. Side and work on the next guy. This one broken. I gotta look at my email about this one. One sec. This is the BCI Mini Open Test Bench. Oh, I'm gonna use the red one. Chad and Craig have donated these to me. I really enjoy using them, so I want to say thank you for sending me these parts. They are very, very helpful. And I like them. They bring me pleasure using them. This guy put the bezel on backwards for some reason. Oh, you got a scratch on it? Okay, that makes sense. This is a Mini I was able to purchase for a really good price from a customer who built it for himself. He had problems with it. This was a while ago. I don't remember what the issue is, but he kind of gave up and wanted me to build him another one. So I built him one. He's very happy with it. Now I'm going to figure out what's dead and what's not dead. Ugh. My current Jeep does not have a Hemi in it. It has a Chevy 350. So I'm just a poser. But I like the I kept the t-shirt, so I like the t-shirt. The JHack dimensions? I mean, I could measure it for you, but I would email JHack. He can give you detailed dimensions. So it fits a mini ITX motherboard and some of the Meanwhile brickless power supply options that he has. And a CryoRig C7, I believe, because he likes the C7. I have cases in stock for people that do full builds from me. That's what I use to pay the bills. So if you want to order a system fully assembled, tuned, tested, and everything from me, possibly even a live stream, then I have a case in stock. But otherwise, you should pre-order now for shipment in July. And I appreciate your business. Thank you very much. Well, Sean, I do not own a Chrysler vehicle. My Jeep is pre-Chrysler ownership. So, it's not blasphemy. And really, it's just a compliment because, come on, Chevy makes amazing, amazing engines, so. And Plymouth ain't around no more, so I'll leave this here, actually. This is going back in the case. Atlanta, Georgia, it's hard, but I wouldn't worry about it, dude. It's not worth it from a performance standpoint. It's worth it if you think it's beautiful and you want to put it in your rig. By all means, buy what you like. I do. I spend ridiculous amounts of money on things that I like because I like it. But performance over the normal is marginal. And I'm not a fan of the C7. I think CryoRig makes good products and the prices are fantastic and the build quality is nice too. But I do prefer the NHL9i because the fan is so much better in my opinion. So be right back. I'm going to air these out because it's pretty dusty. Speaking of using a little compressed air, I found the coolest life hack if you are a motorcyclist. I'm sure I did not come up with this on my own. Or I mean, I'm sure there's other people that figured it out long before me. But, you know, getting grips off your motorcycle, not the hardest thing in the world, because you can use an X-Acto knife or razor blade and just cut it off. But putting them back on, pain in the butt. And you can use like glues that will lubricate it, but then you have to use glue. I found that if you use a little container of compressed air like this, You can kind of get underneath the grip. You can blow, and you can just pretty much just slide the grip right on your handlebars. And when you let go, it goes back on tight. I like the Pro Grip, Pro Taper pillow top grips. Amazing. Maybe if you're into mountain biking, you can give it a shot too. But it's on there, super good. I didn't have to use any glue or anything. But I was tickled because I was looking around. I was like, I usually use hairspray, and didn't find my hairspray that I only use for motorcycle hand grips, stuff like that. Couldn't find it. It's like, well, I could use this. Worked great. Yeah, compressed air, I mean, that would work probably even better, but if you don't have that, but you have canned air, which I never really have. I don't know why I even have a pack of it. I think I was cleaning and I found it. I was like, interesting. Dice channel, dude. What's going on there? But I would absolutely be honored to take a look at your computer case. That would be totally fine. You can send it right to me and I will take a look at it. But I appreciate the donation. I don't know what HUF is. That could be $1 American or it could be $10,000 in American. But either way, thank you very much for your donation. And I help anybody out that wants to email me with as much detail as you want. So, do you have a question for me? Happy to answer it. And if it's $1,000, I'm gonna have to give you a refund because that's too much, dude. Oh, I sent you an email. Okay, sorry about that. Chad asks if I ever attend Scraping the Coast. Yes, I do, because it's right across the street from me. So Scraping the Coast, Cruising the Coast is my favorite. When I moved down here, I was so happy because I moved down here in the summer before Cruising the Coast, and I came from Seattle, and the weather just killed me. I was like, I made a huge mistake. But after the summer ended and the Cruising the Coast came out, I was like, I am in heaven. This was amazing. So I love it here. I love all the coast events. So, and the thing about Scraping the Coast I like, it's not typically my scene, but you know, car enthusiasts are car enthusiasts, so I'm into that. But that type of scene, they have so much innovation that I learn a lot whenever I go to one of those events. So it's fun. But I prefer Cruising the Coast. That's kind of my thing. Tom asked me what my favorite GPU is of all time. And I'm going to try to get some work done while I talk, because this could be a long conversation. I think the answer is kind of probably the first Radeon. I still have that card. I don't really keep cards, but I still have that card. The first Radeon card. I think that is probably my favorite GPU of all time because it was such a tremendous leap forward from my last graphics card, which was a ATI Rage 128, which is the worst graphics card of all time. That one's easy. And the Voodoo cards, it was easy to install. It was super powerful. It made a huge difference in to me at the time for the games I was playing. Really liked that card. It lasted me forever too. So that was probably my favorite video card of all time. The original Radeon, which didn't even have a name, like a number associated with it. Of course, it did on the serial tags and stuff. I think it was like what, a 7200, 7500, something like that. I'm not actually sure. You guys can Google it. You're next to the Google. But the original Radeon. And it had like 64 megabytes of memory or something like that. I'm not sure. I have it somewhere. It'd be fun to go pull it out of the box, but there's a pretty big box of old parts that I have there, so. The 480 is the worst GPU? Okay, well, I'll take your word for it, but the ATI Rage 128 is famously bad. I mean, like, it wouldn't render colors accurately. You couldn't load textures in a lot of games. It would crash all the time. So, I mean, it was a pretty bad card. My first Voodoo was a Voodoo 3, and I hated that card because my dad couldn't really ever get it to work for me. I mean, it would just never work. Yeah, that might be it, Celeste. It might be the Radeon 7000. But it was just called, when I bought it, it was just the Radeon, and I don't even remember the brand, but it was Radeon, and it had 64 megabytes of memory. Awesome card. The Motif Monument chassis. I have to take a break and look at that because that sounds interesting. Hey, it's like a small form factor ARC. Now I just gotta find... That's cool. Yeah, it looks like... Reminds me of the ARC chassis, but small form factor, which is far superior. And then after the Radeon card, I had the All-in-Wonder cards, and I stuck with All-in-Wonder cards for quite some time. I think I had every single All-in-Wonder card in the lineup. Like when the new one would come out, I would sell my old one, you know, and kind of get the new one. And it was funny because I didn't watch TV. We didn't have TV. And I didn't have really any game consoles, but just I liked the idea of being able to plug in something that would output video. And I did have one game console. I had a GameCube at some point, and it was really cool because Soul Calibur had, like, you know, arcade games would like show fights and stuff if you just let it sit, like there'd be a desktop background for games. Well, with the All-in-Wonder card, you didn't actually have to open up a new window to play your games on. You could actually, it was like this weird, I forget how it worked exactly, but basically you could have your desktop background be the output from your GameCube. So I could still click on my icons and everything and still access the start menu, but the desktop background would be like GameCube fighting in the background. And at the time, this blew people's minds when they would come over and see my computer, like from school, and they would see like my desktop background was Soul Calibur, which had really good graphics when it came out for the GameCube. That was fun. So I switched to GeForce for the 680? 680, does that sound right? Can't remember the old cards names for GeForce. But I had two 7 series graphics cards from NVIDIA during Vanilla WoW. I went SLI later on, even though WoW didn't use SLI, and that's the only game I played. But, you know, had to have that. Went back to AMD, and then I tried AMD for a little bit after the 8400. Does that sound right for NVIDIA? During Crisis? I have to look it up. I'm really bad at the video card names in the mid series because it seems like AMD and Nvidia swapped, and now one's using the old numbers. Anyway, let's plug this in. Yeah, Tom Brown, you could do that, but I don't remember. It wasn't like set as your desktop background or anything like that. You had to open up the window for it, and then you'd like Alt Tab or something, and it would get stuck in the background. It was weird. 8800 GT. That, Sean, is the car I was talking about. And yeah, that's like the card for half a decade. I bought that when Crysis came out, and I had that card for a very long time. So that was a fantastic card. That was probably one of the best graphics cards of all time if you had to make a list. Just the performance and the price. Yeah, I think it was a glitch, Tom Brown, but it was a glitch that worked 100% of the time. Oh, there is only... Okay. Fine by me. Oh, I always do that. Some people can't plug USB in the right way the first time. I can't plug DDR4 in the right the first time, even though I know which way it goes. Carson, I don't know if it works yet, brickless. I am currently experimenting. First I have to get this running, and then I can worry about... I know it will not work out of the box. I'll have to do some modding. Weirenfeld, you have to send me an email talking about your order, because I get, dozens a day, and I can't match that kind of thing up. But I promise you I will address whatever your question is as soon as I get done with the stream. But please send me an email about it. So very, very sorry that I lost track. I had a very, very tough past 2 weeks. And I've lost track of everything. I'm trying to catch up now. I'm sorry for messing up. Don't need to do that yet. Something appears to be dead. I do not know what it is yet. But that's why he sent it to me. Luckily, I can swap parts out. Gonna try the RAM. My test RAM is in this box. No regrets or no ragrets? That's the important question you gotta ask yourself. White RAM in my white case. My super awesome low profile RAM that was an awesome present somebody sent me. Oh. It's like, well, the HD Plex doesn't appear to be working now. Okay, looking more and more like motherboard problem. Z270N. I agree with you, Sean. I'm not really concerned so much about the core count, but I would like much higher clock rate APUs. And I realize I don't want to do that because doesn't make sense for most people, right? But for us, it would be amazing. Why you no come out, Anchor keyboard dongle? This motherboard ate my Anchor keyboard. I have never seen it happen in my life. Has that anybody happened to you before? Has that happened to anybody before? I plugged in my wireless keyboard dongle into a USB 3 slot, and I cannot get it out. I have never seen that before, but that is so sad because I really like that keyboard. And I think I have a dead motherboard. And regardless, pins look fine. dead. Come on, man. I used a 3-pound sledge. Didn't use the big one. Yeah, it's definitely gone. I'm gonna use a big plier that covers the entire surface area, and we'll see if either the motherboard gives first or the dongle gives first. But let's see if this CPU is dead. Did it again, guys. I really like the Asus boards because the LEDs just seem to work all the time, even when the motherboard is dead. So you at least can easily see if the power supply is giving it juice. The Asus board acts like it wants to boot this CPU, but it's cutting the power off and cycling it over and over again. So we might just have a bad CPU. We'll give it one more power cycle and see. I'll change the CPU power cable too. It looks good to me, but that way I can say I did everything. Do you care at all? I don't think you care. Pretty sure just because... Nope. Uncle Gamer / Ed. My thought is, it's well and dandy for most of the ITX monstrosity cases that are out there, but if you're going to make an ITX case board, make an ITX board. I think they do have an actual ITX board in the lineup, though. But if they don't, then that's really silly. I think it's like a negative feedback loop where cases get slightly bigger, mini ITX cases get slightly bigger to accommodate hardware getting slightly bigger, and then the hardware gets slightly bigger because the popular ITX cases have got bigger, and it just kind of goes in that direction. But, you know, I'm not a fan of triple slot ITX cards. But we see that. AMD's killing it, James. I'm really impressed with what they got. Though I am sad that there's no official announcement, apparently, about socketed Ryzen 3000 APUs. Well, this build is bust. So I was going to build this one out, but there's no point. So I'm just going to install Windows and tune the other rigs I have built for the rest of my day. It's almost 6 anyways. So, long stream, but I had a blast. Thank you guys for your questions. Thank you to everyone who did the super chats. TJ, good to see you, man. It's awesome. You make me smile every time that I log in. But yeah. So thanks, guys. I really appreciate you accompanying me as I try to get some work done. But with this situation, looks like I have to buy a new CPU. So that's how it goes sometimes. CPUs can go bad, guys. It does happen. Very rarely, but you can go look at Puget System. They have a good write-up on it because they have the numbers of bad CPUs that fail. Anyway, please to you guys. God bless you. Thanks again for everything. And I will see you next time. Oh, wait. People are curious. You waited all this time, so I'll show you the print. That would have been rude. This is the map of the VA campus in Biloxi. So Robin wanted it, my wife, so she could like have a tactile map, I guess, for her blind veterans to help them somehow. I don't know, she's the whiz when it comes to that stuff, but she asked me to print these off, so I did. And here they are. Turned out kind of nice looking too. Alright, boys and girls. Thanks again.